Now, this video covers how to add a quiz to Google Classroom as a quiz assignment. So we're going to go over to our classwork tab for our class that we would like to add a quiz in. And we're going to hit the create button and we're going to go to create a quiz assignment. When we create a quiz assignment, the first thing that you'll notice is it creates for us a blank Google form quiz. And so you can create a quiz in this, or we can add an existing quiz to this. So I'm going to show you both methods for this quiz. So what we're going to do here is first we're going to come up with, give our quiz a title. We're going to call this School Start. And we're going to just do a quick quiz on School Start for you. So we've got a quiz here and I've got my blank quiz form on here. So again, from the right side, if we looked at for our materials, we can choose what class we want to assign it to. Students. Are we going to give this because this is a quiz, we're going to say this is an assessment. We're going to make this a 2-pointer because it's going to have one question on it. So we're going to make this a 2-point assignment. I'm going to put this under the topic of adding materials to the class because that's what we're doing here. I can give this a due date if I want to. By default, again, the due date and time. I'm not going to give this a rubric. I've got everything on here. What grade importing does is grade importing automatically limits the form so that you can have one response per student, collect the email addresses of students, and restricts it just to the Albert Lea schools. So they get one chance. What this will do is it'll bring the grade over as students do this. Okay. So now what we've got is we've got a couple other options that we want to look at for this. I can also have on here locked mode on Chromebooks. When I turn this on, what this means is that students, it'll open up as a browser window in their Chromebook. And if they navigate away from the quiz before answering the question, they would have to ask permission to get back into it. Now, you won't, as a teacher, know what they did or where they went, just that they had some sort of an issue. It could be they lost power, their Chromebook shut down on them. There's a lot of reasons that you could have this, but it gives you an extra layer of protection, especially when you're looking at the distance learning for plagiarism and looking up answers. But you really want to be careful with this because there are any number of legitimate reasons that a student might have gotten knocked out of it. They accidentally navigate away. Another browser tab or a pop-up opens up that interferes. So there's lots of reasons. So I would not use just locked mode on Chromebooks and saying, hey, you get a 0 because you came out of it, because there's a lot of questions that need to be asked and answered about what happened, the circumstances around why they got out of the quiz. So we're going to go into this created blank quiz that it's got for us. And this is going to open up our Google form. First thing we want to do is rename this. So we're going to call this School Start quiz so that we've got this. It's a School Start. This is going to put this in here. So we're going to do School Start. And so then what we've got here is you can put a description in here. Be sure to answer all questions. Okay, so we've got our questions here. This is telling us that it's going to be managed Chromebooks. They can open up this Google quiz. And so we've got everything in here so that it's automatically collecting email addresses. We leave everything alone there. So I'm going to give my first question. So my first question is, what day does school start? Okay. And so when you're creating your quiz, you've got choices here. You can add a short answer, a paragraph, multiple choice, check boxes, drop down, linear scale. There's lots of options that you can play with. I'm not going to go over all of them for this video, for the creating of the Google form. So you can just go through and get that. When does school start? We're going to make this a multiple choice quiz. And we're going to put on here Monday, August 24th, 2020, or we're going to put on here, let's get another option in here, Monday, August 31st, 2020. And so I don't want another option. I got my two options here. So then what I can do is go into my answer key. And I'm going to choose this is the correct answer based on the current information. We're going to make this worth 2 points. I'm going to hit done. I'm going to make this as a required question that students have to answer it. If you want to, you can add additional questions. This is just a real simple to show you how to get this done. A 2-point quiz. We can go up into here. We can customize the theme of of what we want for our Google quiz. So we can set up what we want our fonts to look like, make it more of a formal font, or leave this alone, make it a playful font. So we can set up and create our quiz. We've got everything here. We're going to go into our settings. Here's our settings. These settings, we've got locked mode on, so there's nothing else that we need to do. Everything is set up in here. So I'll show you another one where you can do different settings. So we want to also have here is, do we want students to, we're not going to have anything on here that they can do because we can't change anything. It's all managed by this. But what I can do is under presentation progress bar. So put a bar across the bottom if I want students to know how much more they have for each section or each quiz. If you have multiple questions, I can shuffle the question order to have the students get randomized questions. So maybe question 1 for me is not question 1 for my friend. And I can also put in a confirmation message at the bottom here of, please read when done, or whatever I want it to do. Thank you for completing your quiz. Your quiz has been submitted. Maybe you want to give them instructions as to what to do after this. Then we have for the quizzes, this is all on here. We can set up that with this quiz being that it's all multiple choice, I can immediately give the student their answers or their score after they've gotten the quiz so they can see what it is. If I have other questions that I want to manually review or make sure that I've gotten all the correct answers or give partial credit, you would want to choose later after manual review. And here you can choose, do I want the students to be able to see the questions that they missed? I turn that off. Do I want students to be able to see the correct answers? I turn that off. Do I want students to be able to see the point values? You can have them, you can see whatever you want to do. It's as much control that you would like to have with that. And so then when I'm done, I hit the save. Everything is set, and I can close this out. And we'll hit this refresh button here, and you'll notice that my quiz has now been updated. In here, it's in my drafts, so I've got it as a draft. So anytime that I'm working on something, if I maybe didn't get done to it or I need to go back to it, I can go back into my draft to edit the assignment. You notice it says now here's school start, but if I wanted to go back in and edit this on these 3 dots, I can go back into edit, and here's where everything is. I've got my school start. I don't have a due date on it. Everything is set. I am going to assign this quiz. So I'm going to assign the school start quiz. And there it is in my adding materials. Now, what I can do with this is if I want to make this, okay, maybe I want them to look at materials or see the video, I can roll this down to the bottom and put my school start quiz in there. Now, we're going to show you a different way that we can create this. So I'm going to create another quiz, right? So I'll create another quiz assignment if I want this to be a quiz assignment. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use an existing quiz that we've already done. So I'm going to go in here to add, and I'm going to add from Google Drive because I've already got a form. Now, if you're going to do it this way, what you're going to need to do is delete out, because you notice it already created a blank quiz for me. So I'm going to want to make sure that I delete that out. So I'm going to use this movie quiz. I'm going to hit insert, and that is going to insert my movie quiz that you guys have got. And I'm going to take off this one because I don't want that one because I've already got an existing quiz. But what you are going to need to do is every time you generate a quiz, it generates a blank quiz. So if you go into your forms, you notice that I now have this blank quiz anytime that I do this. And this is kind of a bummer. But what you're going to do is go in here and hit the remove to delete it, because every time you create a quiz assignment, it creates it. So you could end up with a ton of blank quiz, blank quiz, blank quiz, blank quiz. So you definitely want to make sure that you are managing that as you go. This one for the grade importing, if you want the grade to automatically go over, I can have the grade go over. If I look at this quiz, So we're going to look at some of the other options for this quiz. This quiz is a total of 4 points. So I've got my 4 points for the quiz. I've got my two questions here of what I want my students to answer. So I'm going to go back over here and say, okay, this quiz is going to be worth 4 points. And this is going to be an assessment quiz. And we're not going to have a due date on here. I'm not going to put this in locked mode so that you guys can see what this does for without the lock mode. We will still put this under the adding materials to Google Classroom. We'll call this movie quiz and short movie quiz. And we've got everything here, and we're going to assign this quiz to students. Those are the two ways that you can add this. Now you notice I've got my movie quiz at the top here, and what I want to do here is maybe put it right next to the school start quiz. So I'm going to put my movie quiz and school start quiz down here. Do not feel that you need to answer both of these quizzes. They're there if you want to do a quick test to see what the quiz looks like, so you can take that and see how that grading is done. And that is adding quizzes to Google Classroom.